excessive water withdrawal. This resulted in a significant disturbance to both the natural environment and the humans who as a result of a confluence. The Euphrates River, one of the world's longest rivers, has finally run dry as a result of a confluence of factors, including climate change and excessive water withdrawal. This resulted in a significant disturbance to both the natural environment and the humans who lived in its immediate neighborhood. But now, there is something that is even more frightening that has emerged. An ancient monster that had been hidden beneath its waters for generations is now emerging from the depths of the lake. What will take place after this? It is up to us to discover the truth. With a total length of around 2,800 kilometers, the Euphrates River is regarded as Western Asia's longest river. The river's headwaters are located in the Armenian Mountains, which are located in the southeast corner of Turkey. It then travels through the countries of Syria and Iraq, where it eventually converges with the Tigris River before emptying into the Persian Gulf. The Tigris River and the Euphrates River flow in a parallel fashion, and together with all of their respective tributaries, they make up the massive Tigris-Euphrates River system. The Tigris River and the Euphrates River are both considered to be key rivers in the area known as the Fertile Crescent, and the valley formed by the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers has been the birthplace of several ancient civilizations. The Armenian highlands of southern Turkey are the location of the confluence of the western Euphrates, also known as Karasu, and the eastern Euphrates, also known as Muratsu, both of which are much longer rivers than the other. The river then makes its way down onto the Syrian plateau, passing through the major mountain ranges of the Taurus Mountains on its way. From there, it travels through the center and western sections of Iraq. The Euphrates and the Tigris rivers come together near the town of Al-Qurna in the southern portion of Iraq to form the Shat al-Arab, which is approximately 200 kilometers long and eventually empties into the Persian Gulf. The Euphrates River receives water from several notable smaller tributaries at various points along its length. On the left bank of the Euphrates River are where the 100-kilometer-long Balik River and the 486-kilometer-long Kabur River meet up, while on the right bank of the Euphrates River is where the 108-kilometer-long Sajur River meets up. The Euphrates River drains an area that is approximately 500,000 square kilometers in size, of which Turkey contributes 28%, Syria contributes 22%, and Iraq contributes 47%. Other estimates suggest that the drainage basin of the river also extends into the territories of Saudi Arabia, 2.97%, and Jordan, 0.03%, respectively. The volume of water that is discharged by the Euphrates River ranges from 356 cubic meters per second on average to a maximum of 2,514 cubic meters per second. Along the Euphrates River, several barrages and dams have been built to regulate the flow of water and prevent flooding and droughts. These structures also serve the dual purpose of producing hydroelectric power. The Hindia Barrage, the Ramadi Barrage, the Fallujah Barrage, the Haditha Dam, the Tabqa Dam, the Bath Dam, the Tishrin Dam, the Keben Dam, and the Ataturk Dam are some of the notable barrages and dams in this region. Unfortunately, the construction of these dams and barrages has resulted in considerable environmental problems and has led to the flooding of huge portions of the Euphrates River Valley in both Syria and Turkey. This flooding has caused severe environmental damage. Chapter: The Ecology of the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River, throughout its whole journey, travels through a variety of different vegetation zones. The patterns of precipitation, which become noticeably less abundant from the river's headwaters to its terminus, have a considerable impact on the types of flora that may be found along the river basin. Xeric forests are located in the steep and hilly sections of the river's upper courses. These woodlands are distinguished by the presence of several plant species, including oaks, pistachio trees, and members of the Rosacea family. A region consisting of a mixture of woodland and steppe vegetation can be found in the southern portion of this zone. The Euphrates River passes through arid landscapes as it makes its way through its lower reaches. The Tigris-Euphrates River Basin is home to around 34 distinct species of the family Cyprinidae. The Tigris-Euphrates River Basin is home to a unique and critically endangered species of soft-shelled turtle called the Euphrates soft-shelled turtle. Nevertheless, as a result of human exploitation, a great number of the indigenous species that used to live in the Euphrates River Basin, such as the gazelle, Arabian ostrich, and onager, amongst others, have either vanished or are at risk of extinction in the river basin. Since ancient times, not only has the Tigris River been an important waterway, but so has the Euphrates River. The ancient name for the river that is now known as the Euphrates is Perath. The river is listed in the book of Genesis as one of the 4 rivers that flowed out of the Garden of Eden in the biblical story. The hadiths of Prophet Muhammad also refer to the Euphrates River at one point or another. Mesopotamia, Babylonia, Assyria, and Sumer were all ancient civilizations that had their beginnings in the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley. This region is known as the cradle of civilization. The majority of the earliest human settlements were concentrated in the upper portions of the basin of the Euphrates River, an area that was commonly known as the Fertile Crescent at the time. Along the course of the river were the locations of several ancient cities, some of which are Nippur, Uruk, Ur, Adab, Kish, Mari, Eridu, and Sippar. The events of the Battle of Karbala, which took place in 680 AD, took place on the banks of the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River served as a demarcation line between the Roman Empire's jurisdiction to the east and the western portions of the Persian Empire for several years. The countries of Syria, Iraq, and Turkey have all assumed authority over the waters of the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers for irrigation and the generation of hydropower, which has resulted in a significant increase in the level of political friction between these 3 countries. Chapter: The Undisclosed Secret Behind Euphrates. The water levels in the lake that was created by the Euphrates Dam in eastern Syria have just dropped, making it possible to explore a huge ancient burial site that was previously submerged. The site, which dates back to the Byzantine civilization in the Raqqa province, sprawls over large areas on the eastern bank of the Euphrates Dam, also known as Topkadam Lake. It begins in the Wadi Sal al-Khashab and Shams al-Din region in the northwestern countryside of Raqqa and extends to the administrative border between Raqqa and Aleppo. In between those 2 regions is the regions of Shams al-Din. At the time of the Byzantine civilization, it was founded in the province of Raqqa. The decrease in water levels of the Euphrates and Tigris that has occurred over the last 3 years has made it possible for a great number of archaeological sites that were previously covered by the waters of these 2 rivers, which flow through Syria, Iraq, and Turkey, to be exposed. These archaeological sites were previously covered by the waters of these 2 rivers. These rivers flow through Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. Throughout the past few years, the water level in the Euphrates River has decreased to levels that are considered to be dangerously low. The quantity of water that is transferred from Turkey into Syrian territory is less than 200 cubic meters per second, which is less than half of the quantity that Turkey and Syria agreed upon in 1987. According to Abdul Razak al-Aliawi, an engineer and former director of Syria's maintenance department for the Euphrates River, the riverbed has witnessed 6 historical eras, including the Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, Greek, and Byzantine eras, in addition to the Islamic era. This information was provided to Al-Monitor by al-Aliawi, once serving as the director of the maintenance department for the Euphrates River in Syria. Al-Aliawi is a river. He held the opinion that the very act of constructing dams was an unjust decision in the first place. The Syrian government, under the direction of Euphrates Zayin, built the Euphrates Dam in 1968 without first diverting the Euphrates River away from the desert and constructing lakes there. This was done under the supervision of Euphrates Zayin. Instead, Aliawi wrote that the lake that was constructed as a consequence of the dam had a length of 100 kilometers and a width of 8 kilometers, and it submerged the most famous ancient ruins that were located along the river. The lake was created as a result of the dam. During the devastation, only a select few items and monuments were kept intact. As the water levels continues to drop, he added that many cemeteries are located in this area, which is also thought to include hundreds of Syriac Christian monasteries. This information comes even though the water level is still rising. It is possible, on days when the sun is out and the water in the lake is rather clear, to make out the gravestones in the cemeteries that are still submerged in the lake. A few graves have been found on the right bank of the lake in the western section of Raqqa. However, he stated that the left bank is rockier, making it impossible to carry out excavating efforts. In July, the ruins of the ancient city of Talbez were made evident in the city of Anna in Iraq as the waters of the Euphrates River began to subside. Anna is located on the banks of the river. An Iraqi archaeologist by the name of Mohammad Jassim announced the finding of at least 80 previously submerged historical monuments as a result of the lowering of the water level in the Haditha Dam. The declaration that they had unearthed a city that belonged to the Mitanni Empire and had been submerged for 3,400 years was made on June 6 by the Department of Antiquities in Dohuk, which is located in the Kurdish region of Iraq. Dohuk is one of the cities that make up the Mitanni Empire. When the waters in the basin of the Tigris River began to recede, the city became visible. The director of the Dohuk Department of Antiquities, Bex Privkani, revealed on June 6 to reporters that the city, which was previously referred to as Zakiko, was referenced in Babylonian documents. Bex Privkani was speaking to the reporters on behalf of the Dohuk Department of Antiquities. According to him, it features a palace in addition to several other buildings, as well as a substantial wall surrounding the entire compound. Cuneiform texts were also found at the spot they were located at. The historical Hastek Castle, which is located in the On region of eastern Turkey and can only be reached by boat, was exposed to the surface of the Keben Dam Lake on the Euphrates River last year as a result of the water level dropping in the lake caused by the Keben Dam. This occurred as a direct result of the Keben Dam. It is believed that the castle was originally a temple that dates back to the time before the Christian era, as stated by Korkmaz San, who serves as the head of the history department at the Firat Euphrates University in Turkey. Korkmaz San is responsible for overseeing the university's history department. During that time, he stated to the press in which he explained that the castle is carved into the rocks on 3 distinct levels and that there are Greek inscriptions on the walls of its interior. This statement was made during the time in question. According to the Bible, the drying up of the Euphrates River is a sign that momentous events are on the horizon, which may even be a portent of the second coming of Jesus Christ and the rapture. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east, according to Revelation 16:12. The Euphrates, together with the Tigris, is the river that ultimately empties into the Persian Gulf. Its course takes it through modern-day Syria and Iraq. Mesopotamia, which is known as the cradle of some of the world's first civilizations, has been blessed with the presence of 2 rivers that have for thousands of years made it possible for agricultural towns and big cities to thrive in the region. Yet, over several decades, it has become increasingly obvious that the Tigris-Euphrates river system is in the process of drying out. A report commissioned by the government in 2021 stated that if water levels continue to drop and droughts continue to be caused by climate change, the rivers might be completely dry by 2040. After collecting photographs of this region in 2013, the Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment satellites of NASA discovered that the Tigris and Euphrates River basins had lost 144 cubic kilometers of fresh water since 2003. GRACE data show an alarming rate of decrease in total and professor at UC Irvine. In a statement, India currently has the fastest rate of groundwater storage loss on Earth, and the Tigris and Euphrates River basins currently have the second fastest rate of groundwater storage loss on Earth. The pace was especially remarkable after the drought that occurred in 2007. In the meantime, there is an ever-increasing need for fresh water, but the region is unable to coordinate the management of its water resources due to divergent views on how international regulations should be interpreted, as Femaglietti explained. The signs of strain are already beginning to appear, but a complete failure of the river system would be catastrophic for the area. The Tigris-Euphrates River is the primary source of drinking water for millions of people in Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. The rivers are beginning to struggle, and at the same time, international debates over access to water are beginning to heat up. These disagreements have also stopped governments from coming up with any viable solutions to the problem. These countries are suffering from a severe lack of water, and there is a growing possibility that this may lead to a crisis in terms of public health. In a recent article that was published in the British Medical Journal, the authors studied how the difficulty that people in Iraq are having in obtaining clean water is contributing to the proliferation of a wide variety of health crises. The government no longer offers immunizations to its citizens. One of the 4 rivers that flow out of the Garden of Eden is called Perath, which is the Hebrew word for the Euphrates. This river is mentioned in Genesis 2:14, and it is one of the rivers that flow out of Eden. The name Euphrates originates from a Hebrew term that may have been derived from the word stream or from the verb to spring forth. The name of this river is reflected in its English translation as the Euphrates. This river is referred to by its Hebrew name, which is Hiddekel. It is the 4th river to originate from the river that pours out of the garden, following in the footsteps of the Pishon, the Gihon, and the Tigris. The Pishon, the Gihon, and the Tigris are the names of the last 3 rivers. The river with the same name was used as one of the demarcation lines for the country that God had promised to Abraham and the descendants of Abraham who descended from him through Isaac and Jacob. This area was described in the Bible as the land that God gave to Abraham and his descendants. It is usually referred to as simply the river throughout the entirety of the Hebrew Scriptures, Hanahar. As an illustration, on that day the Lord formed a covenant with Abram and said, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates." God adds, "The name of the 3rd river is Tigris," after he has already created the Tigris and the Euphrates. It is the river that may be found running to the east of Assur. For its part, the Euphrates is the 4th river in the region. God makes the following promise to Abram. From the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates defines the northern and eastern boundaries of the land. In Genesis 15:18 of the Jerusalem Bible, God gives the following instructions to the Israelites regarding their journey to the Promised Land. "Begin your journey and make your way to the hill country of the Amorites and to all of their neighbors in the Arabah, the hill country, the Shephelah, the Negeb, the seacoast, the land of the Canaanites, and Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates." God makes the following promise to the Israelis concerning the Promised Land, and Moses is the one who is given the task of relaying it from God to the people. "Every location where you set the soles of your feet shall be yours. Your territory's borders are going to stretch from the desert to Lebanon and from the Euphrates River out to the western sea." In other words, they are going to encompass the entire region. Then the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, so that the route of the kings to the east could be prepared. This verse refers to the Battle of Armageddon. The book of Revelation 16:12. The book of Isaiah refers to the Euphrates River on multiple occasions. In the book of Isaiah, chapters 8 and 8, God orders Isaiah to put up a banner to the nations and raise a signal to the kingdoms, so they may come to the Lord of hosts with tribute and offerings. God says this so that the peoples of the world may come to worship the Lord of hosts. As it arrives and overwhelms the country of Assyria, the Lord will command a tremendous flood to rush forth from the Euphrates River. God tells the prophet Isaiah in Isaiah 11:15-16 that he would establish a covenant of peace with the nations. "It shall be an eternal covenant with them. I will make them and the areas around my hill a blessing, and I will make it so that showers fall at the appropriate times. Those showers will be showers of blessing. Every tree in the field will bear its fruit, and the ground will bring forth its harvest in due time. They will have peace and security in their land, and they will know that I am the Lord when I break the chains of their yoke and liberate them from the power of those who held them in slavery." Jeremiah, another biblical text, refers to the Euphrates River as well. God instructs Jeremiah to take the linen sash and place it around your waist, but do not put it in water. This instruction may be found in Jeremiah 13:4-5. He then goes on to explain the expansive area that will be held by the Babylonian Empire, claiming that it will span from the Euphrates River on the east to the stream of Egypt on the west. This is a reference to the location of 2 rivers in modern-day Iraq and Egypt. In Jeremiah 46:10, God tells Jeremiah that the Babylonians will come up like a flood and pass through. They will reach almost to the neck. The river is also referenced in this verse. They will wipe off the nations in their rage, and the scale of their devastation will be comparable to the sweep of a scimitar. They shall go through the gate, and go out by it. Their king shall pass before them, with the Lord at their head. They shall go through the gate and go out by it. That's all for the video today. We'll be right back with more. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel.